The next panel is called Achieving Total Zero, and the Advanced Transportation Centers here are funded by the California Energy Commission, which funds 4 advanced transportation centers whose mission is to accelerate adoption of zero-emission vehicles in California. And they're going to look at, they're going to describe the missions of their centers and how they work together to promote and support programs towards that throughout the state. We are ably led here by our moderator, Tamara Perry, who's the Director of Strategic Initiatives in Industry Cluster Development. And Tamara joined LAEDC in 2015, and her charge there is to build external support for capacity building efforts and to strengthen LA County's key industries through this industry cluster strategy, working in close partnership with all of LAEDC's internal program delivery elements. You might remember Tamara from working with Mayor Villaraigosa's office, is that right? And we are very pleased to have her leading this panel. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay. Again, my name is Tamara Perry, and I'm the Director of Industry Cluster Development with the LAEDC. And this panel discussion is around the California Energy Commission's Advanced Transportation Centers, which is part of the Alternative and Renewable Fuel and Technology Program. And part of CEC's annual program has really 4 initiatives. The first is to develop and improve alternative and renewable low-carbon fuels. 2 is to expand fuel infrastructure, fueling stations, and equipment. Improve light, medium, and heavy-duty vehicle technologies, and lastly, establish workforce training programs, public education, and create technology centers of excellence such as the transportation centers that we'll be discussing today. So back in 2015, the Energy Commission created 4 alternative fuel and advanced vehicle technology centers of excellence. LAEDC leading Southern California, Sedal from Carbon Blue. We also have another Northern California team led by Berkeley called NORCAT, as well as recently a new center started in the San Joaquin Valley with CalSTART. And so we're just really excited to hear from these 2 industry leaders from the centers. Michael Bohm is our Executive Director of the Southern California Advanced Transportation Center, and he'll give a short presentation, and then we'll hear from Sedal, who's the Director and Chief Futurist for the Center for Alternative Fuels. I'm going to turn it over to Michael, and then we'll open it up to questions afterwards.
Great. Thank you very much, Tamara. Can you hear me, or is... Is that better? No? Okay. I think I see a lot of familiar faces here, but some new ones. Thanks for sticking it out. There we go. Thanks for sticking it out to the end of the day. Hopefully the bribe of beer and appetizers is a good incentive. One of the reasons why we were actually, I'll start with the reception. One of the reasons that we were actually quite enthusiastic about doing this is that the reception illustrates a couple of points of what we try to do. Number one, we're trying to be the glue for the community around clean tech and especially electrified and alternative fuels transportation. And that means providing settings where people can interact. You never know, and you can't necessarily structure exactly what sparks will fly. But having a group that gets together and knows each other and works with each other and helps each other on projects, all for the benefit of the region, is a lot of what we're about, and that's a lot of what our mission is. The second thing nice about the reception is that we're co-sponsoring with our brethren, if you will, from up north. And this is another thing that is an emphasis for us going forward, is how do we cooperate with the other advanced transportation centers and achieve some statewide goals as opposed to just our regional goals. So it could have devolved into a competition for bragging rights or funds and stuff, but we've adopted with all of us a quite effective way of working together, exchanging information, avoiding duplication of resources and so on. So that's another big thing that we work on doing, is trying to get our region more active and also trying to work with the other regions so that we have a statewide initiative. Well, let's see. Am I pointing this the wrong way? So, I'm not gonna, I won't talk to it too much, don't worry, this is just pictures on the slide. But really, the basis is that we've pulled together about 10 people when we applied for this grant, and there are partners and cost share partners and also program partners in making this work. LADC has spearheaded the effort and continues to be the linchpin administering all of our resources. Thank you very much. Additionally, we have the LA Clean Tech Incubator, and now that the building is finally mature, we can use them for events, and we have a presence in that building where people can go to gather information. We do the same thing. Is there anyone here from CSE? Yeah, great. So we also have the same thing in CSE where we have an active program. People can come and get information, and also they're doing a lot of events, especially with Fleets and Clean Cities. Inland Empire provides us reach throughout the geographic region, and we recently added another facility in Orange County at the UCI Innovation Hub with CleanTech OC. Finally, we have UCLA with Smart Grid Energy Research Center. You saw Professor Codd here in the last panel. And also we work with Luskin Center at UCLA around things EV related. And Cal State LA is David, Professor Beckham is doing really interesting things with fuel cell and advanced fuel cell fueling stations, and also with, he's got projects working on electric vehicles for contests and races. So, okay, this thing's somehow sticking in the strange way in the middle. I see, because it's not slides, it's PowerPoint. Okay, now you can see it. So I just got done describing our physical sites, and we also have a virtual site, which is the website, which is the AdvancedTransportationCenter.org, and that's where you can get a lot of useful and interesting information about what we're doing. Okay. Kind of awkward. I'll just talk to it. The LA Clean Tech Incubator is quite interesting. Now that they're moved into the new facility, which is a gorgeous facility if you haven't been there, there's a lot of exciting stuff going on. We're working with them on an industry cluster initiative. They also have announced that they're going to get some funding and some organization around an advanced charging, advanced transportation demonstration, which will be showing some cool stuff about charging and maybe the integration of that with storage and their big photovoltaic installation they have over the parking lot there. So that's a great place for people to connect in LA. It's a nice facility for meetings and events, and it's also hopefully turning into a great showpiece for local companies with great solutions around EV and EV charging. Center for Sustainable Energy, they've got a beautiful facility, very large meeting room there, can host up to 80 people. We're working on getting like video linkages between there and other centers so that people remotely can observe and participate in meetings and presentations that are being held there. And they're quite active, as I said, especially in the Clean Cities Fleets programs, and they have a bunch of events coming there, and they also have material and support for people who walk in and want to get help in getting electrified. The other ones we have, Clean Tech Orange County, again it's in the UCI Innovation Hub, again also a beautiful facility. And we're just getting that ramped up. We officially turned the lights on there, what, 3 months ago? Something like that. And we've had a couple of very nice events there, so it gives us coverage other places. Cal State LA, we talked about the hydrogen fueling and also some education. And Inland Empire is important. We like it also because it gives us a way to connect with the bus companies. A lot of bus companies ended up going either Inland Empire or Palmdale area, where the land is cheap enough for Coachworks and production. What else do we do? Well, we try to be the glue, but that means we try to bring the community together. We have each of the advanced transportation centers has a little bit of a different mission. Ours is much more about industry cluster building. Sidnell will tell you about their focus in just a moment, which is a really cool software tool. This is an example. First, our group helped to bring Faraday and Future to LA. Do people know what Faraday and Future is? I'll do a brief thing. It's basically a startup trying to, you can say out Tesla. But they've got 900 engineers now, I think, in LA, which is great for us for our cluster development stuff. And they took over, I think it was a Honda facility down in Torrance. I'm sorry? Nissan facility, sorry. Yeah, they're the first one. They took over a Nissan facility down in Torrance, and they've got great plans, both for the vehicle and for what can happen in the region as a test bed for what they want to do. One of the things that they want to do is they want to add autonomy to the vehicle. That's been another area of interest for us, is how do we promote autonomous vehicles and alternative transportation in Southern California. And so we organized a regional approach to apply for our ARPA eNext car opportunity. And so this is a game around how to get federal money and get it into local companies. I'll say this, we didn't get the bid, but the process of doing it really pulled together everybody in the community. And we got, CIO for the city of LA to participate. We got a wide range of folks who are here came together around that grant opportunity and got to know each other. And now we have processes. And so we're quite hopeful at being able to tap that same set of linkages and go after other interesting projects. So that was quite a good experience, and it was an example of how we try to be the connective tissue or the glue that brings together our clean tech community. Okay, so this is just a little bit of bragging. We've got about 10,000 contacts in our mailing list of people who are expressed interest or come to meetings and so on. Through the E4 E-Mobility Alliance, we have a little bit irregular over the summer, but hopefully regularly scheduled monthly meetings going forward. And this is also part of the connective tissue or the glue. We provide a forum, a speaker, and it's a chance for people to get together and network and make sure that they're not working at cross purposes or have overlap. So as we do this for the center, one of the things I invite you to think about is if you want to have an event, we can probably facilitate that with publicity, with a site, as long as it's of the appropriate type of event related to our mission. And we're happy to help promote that, and that's part of what we'd like to do, is to get more activity there. By the terms of the grant, we can't actually organize, for example, our own conference. We're a facilitator to make it possible for other people. So that means that we need for you to come to us with things you would like to do and let us try to help you and figure out how to make that work better. Okay. Thank you. He's adjusting it for me. Good work, Ace. Thank you. So we've done a lot of work on branding and social media. That's a new way to communicate with people. Once you jump up a little bit of a learning curve, that's quite cost effective. So we use a wide range of social media tools to get word about the centers, about the information available, about issues, and about events happening in the area. Again, trying to promote this community to be built around clean tech and advanced transportation. We've done 21 events, so that's a fairly good track record, I think. And we're starting to do more now that we have Orange County roped in as well. So we're getting the word out. We're doing kind of outreach to help get people aware of the options they have as far as where they can get chargers, what's the process, and also how they can electrify both their personal and their corporate, if they're a fleet manager especially, transportation. We did some webinars about, for example, there's been a lot, the last panel was a lot of discussion about where do you get the funding, for example, from Southern Cal Edison, and previously ChargePoint was doing it all for free. So there's a number of incentives and a range of ways that you can cost effectively electrify your workplace, your multi-user dwelling, or wherever you're at, your fleet depot. And we're happy to help you and connect you with the people who are offering those rebates, incentives, grants, etc. So we've done webinars to inform people about various options, and with pretty good results, pretty good attendance. That's a way for us to have material that is developed once and then can be deployed across our whole region. The trick for us is that the whole region covers everywhere from Santa Barbara to the Mexico border to Arizona. So Cybercast is often a good way to reach a lot of people. Data collection and analysis, one of the things that we do as part of our grant, and it's also part of what we want to do, is we survey where is the electric vehicle presence, electric transportation presence, and what are the companies who are doing this kind of business. And so to that end, we have, oh, thanks so much. To that end, we have we work with CleanEdge to generate a report, and this shows the presence of all of the companies involved in this space in our region, and it helps for people to do matchmaking, and it helps for us to promote the region as an area where there's already a tipping point or a large number of companies involved in the space. Okay, so what are the things that we're doing and what have we learned, where are we going forward? So remember, part of our mission, as the title of the program says, is we're trying to get the state to, zero emissions, right? And so, as people have said, it's going to be a long, slow, steady walk. We're going to take our time doing it. But here's the things that we've done up to now. We've got the fiscal centers up and running, doing events, disseminating information. We've got partnerships and outreach, which the events we promoted and the social media. Especially through our friends at CSE, we've been doing great outreach into the fleets. We've done a couple events up here too, and participated in some shows for that. Goods movement is another area of focus. Port Tech now being rolled into LA Clean Tech Incubator. That gives us access to the electrification of the ports and the technology going into goods movement, which is quite an economic driver for our region. Infrastructure, we again work with folks to try to facilitate grants for advanced technology demos and infrastructure development. And we have knowledge resources where if people need help, they know where to come, and we can help them come up. Economic development and workforce development is some of the priorities for next time. Thought leadership, we're looking to figure out ways to, we've sort of accumulated a lot of knowledge and experience and relationships. We'd like to disseminate those, and white paper seems like another step for how to do it. Disadvantaged communities, we've heard about it some, and there's going to be a big focus to make sure that the state money coming out of cap and trade doesn't just go to the wealthy. Everyone says, if you can afford a Tesla, you don't need $7,500, right? So, may or may not be true, but let's take it to the next stage. What are the things that we can do to help bring this electrification to communities that are economically challenged and also environmentally challenged? So that's one of the areas of concentration. Data and analysis. This is for two purposes. One, you collect it, you know more about the people you're serving and the community you're serving, so you understand what to do. And second one is we want to have it available, all that information available at the center so that people can do easier matchmaking. We've been doing personal matchmaking now, and now we want to go a little bit more digital with that connective tissue approach. And the final thing, and so the technical assistant, this is a concierge service. We were talking about if you want to put in EVs in your multi-user dwelling, just like the gentleman was talking about. Or if you're a fleet manager and you want to electrify your fleet in the depot, where do you start? How do you get going? And there's a lot of websites, but it's tough. Some of them are industry websites, some of them are agency websites. They all have a different agenda. How can you tell which one? And there's a lot of information that's the same, but not all of it. How can you tell where to get started and what to do and what's appropriate for you? And so our notion is that a little bit of experienced, knowledgeable, quote, free consulting to help people get started and help them to avoid dead ends could really make a lot more rapid progress in the adoption, especially of charging infrastructure in the region. And so I think the same approach with software is one of the things that Sadale will talk about as for the vehicles. supposed to be charging infrastructure. So those are the things that we hope to expand our scope to address over the next 3 years. And we're quite excited about our role, both providing leadership for the region and being a team member in the state effort. I think that's the last one. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Michael. So, as you can see, LA has a lot of really cool things going on. Sacramento, not so much. We have a lot of bureaucrats, but not a lot of innovators. And so one of the things that we've been trying to do, as Michael mentioned, is build bridges and kind of connect this community, not only in our region, but connect communities across various regions, provide increased communication and collaboration opportunities through some software and some platforms that we've been pioneering. And so that's been a lot of the work that we've been doing at our center. And I'll wait till my presentation comes up to kind of outline our partners. But this particular solicitation was titled the Centers for Alternative Fuels and Advanced Vehicles. And so when it came, oh, well, this isn't mine yet, so.
Oh, I see.
That's all right. So when this first came across our desk, at Carbon Blue, our company provides fleet analytics and optimization software to the transportation industry. So essentially, our platform allows fleet managers to upload information about their fleets, whatever that fleet may be, and quickly analyze it, identify the vehicles that are optimal or ready for replacement, and then identify the technologies that are ideal for replacing those vehicles in those specific applications. And this platform allows them to see both the available incentives for those alternative fuel options, and as well identify the ROI, the environmental and the economic impact those assets will have on the fleet. And so sustainability, alternative fuels, is something really, really key and something we're very passionate about. So naturally, when this project came up, we were pretty excited to apply, and we pulled together some partners that are very key in developing both the software and the outreach and technical expertise that we need. And so you can see, obviously listed here, we have the Energy Commission, which provided the half of the funding. Alternative Fuel Advocates is a policy and alternative fuel advocacy group based in Sacramento that we work closely with to make sure that the funding for these programs continues to be allocated and properly assigned to various regions and entities. The grant fund there is one of the state's premier grant writing groups. They have something like a 95–96% success rate writing and submitting CEC proposals, and have been instrumental in getting us not only funding for this project, but for many of the other projects that we've been involved in across the state. Carbon Blue obviously has donated the IP and manpower to this project, and then ECO is one of the world's leading engine certification firms. So they're the folks responsible for many of the alternative fuel platforms getting their EPA and ARB certs and being allowed to actually deploy those vehicles here in the state. Not only certification work, but getting exemptions, filing all that paperwork with the regulatory agencies and making sure it gets pushed through and properly processed. So our mission is a little bit different. As Michael mentioned, our mission is more focused on developing internal capacity. So we're very focused on working with the nonprofits, the entrepreneurs, and the organizations that are already on the ground, and giving them the software tools that they need to really expedite and improve their success. So as a tech company, we try to solve problems with tech all the time. That's what we do. So our missions are to centralize the public and fleet manager attention, and then provide the public and members of the alternative fuels and advanced vehicles industry tools and spaces to encourage collaboration, innovation, and success. So our software platform involves several things. It involves a light version of the Carbon Blue Sustainable Fleet app, which allows fleets at no cost to access the app, process information, upload data from their fleet management system, and discover the different alternative fuels that they may be eligible for. And it also identifies the proper incentives and incentive programs that apply to them, which is a great service, and we've found quite a few stakeholders, especially in the Central Valley, I'll get to that in a minute, who've been using it and having a lot of success with it. We also offer crowdfunding tools for various folks who are out there trying to just build something awesome. I think we have a couple of solar renewable energy innovators currently in our community, and we've been talking with Clean Start and some other folks about putting their projects on there. So this was all recently launched a couple months ago. We have an online education platform that's been fantastic. So part of the thing that you'll see in a little bit is the center provides workforce development, workforce training, technician training, fleet manager training, sustainability training, all those things. We're working with Cerritos Community College down here to provide some of those courses, and ARC in Northern California, the American River College system. And that's been great. It's been fantastic. We've been able to impact quite a few people and work a lot with some of the municipalities and other industry members. So we provide online education to enhance those courses, and we also provide an online education platform that other colleges, nonprofits, and institutions can use to host their classes and provide distance learning. So one of the reasons that we wanted to do that is we found that a lot of folks had problems getting to school, they had problems getting to class on time, and then there was also a pretty big problem with community college courses especially being oversubscribed. So there was no more room for the mechanic down the street who was only enrolling in one course to enroll in a class. And so they missed training that they would have really benefited from. And I just mentioned the fleet analysis. We provide a resource center that just has case studies, news, and then we also provide a webinar platform that goes kind of to what Michael was saying. We are funded to provide this infrastructure, but we're not actually funded to provide any activities. So if you have something, you have some project that you want to highlight, that you want to get in front of not only the CEC and the ARB, but an audience here in California, we have a wonderful list of contacts, and we also network and work with Michael and the other centers hubs to make sure that these webinars get in front of as many eyes as are needed and as possible. And so if you have something like that you want to have it produced as a webinar, just come to us, contact us, and we can produce that, set a date, and make sure it's promoted and properly advertised and attended. So one of the aspects of the project is a physical location. We have one location that we have already in operation in downtown Sacramento, and it's part of the Velocity Venture Capital's campus. And so we share that with the Grant Farm, several other new startups, and Velocity Venture Capital. And we have another place that we're currently renovating that is more out in the suburbs in Roseville, that is also going to be a co-working space, connected classroom, and folks will have access to center staff and interns who can give some of that expert consulting to help projects move along. So some of our goals chiefly is to impact the conversation around alternative fuels and advanced vehicles. We want folks to know more about what's going on, to have really reliable information. Like Michael said, there's a lot of information out there. The Department of Energy has a wonderful website that has just troves and troves and troves of information about alternative fuels and advanced vehicles. But we want people to be able to operationalize that information, and we also want them to be able to ask questions to industry experts and have access to that sort of thing. And so in building these communities and these hubs and tying in not only our organization, but UC Berkeley, and tying in CalSTART, and tying in the Center for Sustainable Energy and E4 Mobility and LAEDC, we suddenly give so much more authority and access to people who really know the answers. So people don't have to spend their time going down the rabbit hole, getting lost, getting frustrated. So it really reduces that barrier to entry. We want to raise awareness and centralize attention around issues related to alternative fuels, especially social justice issues, especially issues around actually commercializing some of these technologies. We've been working with the Greenlining Institute. I don't know if any of you have heard of them, but they're fantastic. So we've been engaging them in some conversations and getting them resources. And we look forward to supporting other organizations and nonprofits like them, and reaching out to disadvantaged communities, reaching out to to areas that maybe just don't see the point, don't see the benefit, or don't even get recognized. So we've been doing a lot of work both in the Central Valley and Northern California on those issues, and we're excited to do some of that here as well. And then that third point, to empower individuals, is our last and final goal. And that we believe we can do through providing these spaces, providing technology, providing people access to engineers and access to people who have money, access to have conversations with Velocity Venture Capital and other funding agencies, both public and private. And giving them really the tools they need to make their businesses and their ideas a reality, or giving them at least the feedback they need to let them know that maybe what they're planning isn't so great, because that happens as well. So it's good to give people access to those resources. So some of our projects to date include 8 trade shows, regional trainings, and several public expo events. We've worked very closely with Clean Cities, both the various Northern California Clean Cities coalitions, including East Bay and Sacramento, to put on some exceptional trainings. We've worked with the Green Transportation Summit at Expo, MEMA, and the Alcar Expo and NGV Bridge to put on some very well-attended trainings and expos. So that's been great. And as Michael said, we have the opportunity, we have the facilities to organize and kind of promote and host these events, but we don't really have the funding to do them. So if you guys have a project that you want done, some kind of event, contact us, and we'll put you in touch with the proper hub. If it's here, then Michael would be the man. If it's in Northern California, then that would be myself. So, some of our challenges and some of the lessons we've learned. One of the things that we've really come to believe in and champion is that lots of the nonprofits and groups that are on the ground that have been doing this forever, they're in a much better position than we are to help people in those communities. For one of my favorite examples is Project Clean Air in the Central Valley. I don't know if any of you have heard of them, but they're fantastic and they have much better connections than we will probably ever develop in that area. And so as we look to, we are one of 2 major subcontractors helping CalSTART with their center there. And so we spend a lot of time there. And as we look at deploying some of these solutions and doing outreach and education, it's become very evident that it's much more efficient for us to work with them and to bring them into the community and provide a glue, provide a bridge to funding and resources instead of trying to go in and duplicate their efforts. And so that's been a big focus of our group, is pulling together comprehensive lists, good contacts with nonprofits and other groups that are already on the ground doing this work, and connecting them and really enhancing their programs instead of trying to go and reinvent the wheel. So some of our next steps, actually this is a little bit of an old slide. So we did launch our online education platform. This is the last time I talked about this, and that's been fantastic. We've put just a few sustainability courses up there. We've reached out to ARC, and we're putting a couple of enhanced distance learning courses together with them. We have continued to support Clean Cities and the other centers, and we're really excited about bringing and onboarding more project proponents and entrepreneurs and innovators onto our crowdfunding platform and giving them those resources. So our vision is to be able to educate, empower, and then put projects on the ground. We'd like to be able to provide a single online resource or a consolidated online resource to serve innovators and educators in the green, clean, alternative, renewable energy space in California. There's a lot of messages and a lot of information out there, and so it makes sense to us to consolidate that into a few central portals that people can access, answer questions, and then be directed to the people that they need to talk to that have the answers. We're very excited to be leveraging the strengths of each hub into something that can serve all of California. What we do well in Sacramento is not necessarily what is done well in LA, and what they do well down here is not necessarily something we do well in Sacramento. And so we rely on each other's strengths And we've started monthly calls and discussions to really trade information and see where we can support each other and see where we can expand projects and learn from one another. And so that's been a fantastic experience. So we're really excited about that. And we're really excited about just being a kind of an example to the rest of the country as well. These hubs are something that isn't being done. There's no kind of solid leadership kind of guiding these activities across the state or across the nation. So as we started to talk about it and discuss it, it's been a great opportunity to share resources, to improve processes. We've been able to put together a couple of really cool grant applications that have been fantastic, and we're able to leverage resources from across the state and put together some really compelling proposals. So that's been fantastic. And so I'll just go through some of the stuff we do as far as education goes. Includes training automotive technicians, sustainability managers, fleet managers, city planners, and first responders. And that's where our education has been really focused. We do have a nice chunk of funding that is available to us to write grants to help do workforce development, to help put more alternative fuels and advanced vehicles on the ground. And we work really closely with the grant farm to develop these programs. So if you have information or a program that you'd like to get funded, some sort of RFP that you're looking at currently, we'd love to hear about it. And as long as it has some application to Northern California, it can also be something that involves Southern California or Central California. But we did have, we have a chunk of funding that's available to put together good programs like this. So if you have that information, we'd love to hear about it. On the empowerment side, so this is just a list of the tools that are offered by that software platform I was talking about that we've launched. We do offer a really cool grant tracking software. I didn't talk about that yet. So if you're working in a specific industry, say electric vehicles, you want to always see what sort of federal, state, maybe local funding is available. You can type those search terms into the tracking program, and it'll update you real time what sort of funding opportunities are available federally, statewide, and locally. So that's a pretty cool feature. Takes some of the legwork out of chasing down funding, which is nice. Feasibility analysis, fleet analytics and optimization from Carbon Blue, some crowdfunding tools, and then networking and project development and case study development. On the implementation side, it's been a pleasure. We've developed, we actually paid for some of the development of the SEED program, which just went out a little bit ago, as well as the San Diego Port electrification project. We were able to participate in that and provide them some funding through this grant. And so we're excited to continue to do that, to support good projects across the state, provide resources to things that we feel are really impacting the industry. So that, yeah, that's about it. Thank you.
I'm going to open it up if anyone has any questions. I guess one thing, just as I was talking, it'd be good, and we can, I know we're kind of between you guys and a drink, so we can make this pretty quick. But in terms of potential for future collaboration between the centers, I know we've talked about that, touched on it, but I just wanted to hear from both of you in terms of what does that collaboration look like going forward, and what would be the ideal, if you had a wish list, path going forward with the Energy Commission?
Yeah, so I think one of the things that would be really exceptional is as we work to develop more funding opportunities, it would be great to leverage some of our funding, some of your grant writing capabilities, that sort of thing, to build better projects for the state. I think that's an ideal place to start. I know that we are kind of privileged to have really direct access to the regulatory agencies and the funding agencies right there in Sacramento downtown. So us being able to build that bridge and really feed that kind of money back into the industry and find good places for it and work with you to see where it really goes, that would be ideal.
Yeah, I think that's great. He's coming. Thank you. I think that's great. It really helps when you can take bureaucrats to lunch because their motivations are good. They're just somewhat disconnected from us in Southern California. So that's a great thing that you bring to us. We wrote a proposal that's looking for a sponsor for a truck that you can do outreach and ride and drive with. And it's essentially a portable microgrid. It's an electric powered truck. It's got to be all, net zero for our purposes of illustration. And we talked about swapping it amongst the 4 centers, and everyone gets it for 3 months, and they use it as much as they can to do outreach events, and then they turn it over to the next folks. And it needs to be a little bit localized because stuff like building code and things like that help the rubber hit the ground and get the people installing a lot of infrastructure is different in different locations. But by and large, the vehicle and also the utility that is offering the electricity and the rates, time of use is a good incentive for how people should charge. But I think that idea of having a common outreach asset is a great way that we've brainstormed about getting resources that we don't have to develop independently, separately, and in duplicate.
Yeah, I agree. I think you might not even have been on this call, but we actually, speaking of duplicating and collaborating, we met with the center's, your center's social media team and started sketching out, how to do that outreach together and standardizing things that way. So yeah, I think that's a great example. And moving forward, we anticipate doing a lot of that. So.
Are there any questions from the audience? Maybe you guys could talk a little bit about what and this can be the last question, what do you see are the biggest challenges that you face, or perhaps what sort of technology would you most want to challenge, would most want to target, that maybe is the most challenging?
Sure. From a startup perspective, one of the biggest challenges we see is actually getting these technologies and these projects past the grant funding stage and taking the next step into getting them funded commercially and getting private funding involved. We've been, a lot of what our software is focused on is finding ways to make the economic argument for alternative fuels and advanced vehicles, and to help them that way by making them a little more palatable to companies. And so that's one of the things we've really been focusing on, and we hope to be able to address working in conjunction with the other centers, is to look for private funding and also look for the entrepreneurs and the innovators who have the technology that's going to take it to that next step where it really is something that can run on its own legs, because we can't have the subsidies forever, obviously, so we got to do something about that.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, from my point of view, it's interesting that we see different challenges based on where we sit. Because we have the LA Clean Tech Incubator and this Innovation Center at UCI where we share office space with VC funds and stuff, we see that as something that we're making some good progress to. I think there's a half a dozen companies in the LACI portfolio that are related to advanced transportation, to use a general term. So we see that as something that we have some skills at and some relationships at, and that's partly because our mission is this industry cluster building mission, and so of course, if we neglected that, we would be remiss. I would like to see us finding the ability to do more and better events. That's one of the pieces of outreach where we kind of have people come in and we can help facilitate, but I think it would be great if we could do a little bit more driving of that. And, conferences, white papers, thought leadership, this type of thing. I think we've got an amazing set of connections and resources. One step towards being this clearinghouse for information in the region is a speakers bureau that we're putting up. So these are nuts and bolts types things that we can work on. For the bigger picture, as we speaking kind of for the umbrella of all the ATCs, I think there's a couple of interesting challenges coming up for the state as far as you asked what kind of technologies would we like to accelerate the deployment of. I think one of them is definitely, you heard 4 or 5 super smart people in that last panel saying, we don't know what to do with multi-user dwelling. ChargePoint thought they found very recently something that was working for them, but in general, that's been a tough nut to crack. And in our region, half of the people live in multi-user dwelling, like condos or apartments, and they're being shut out of the ability to participate because they don't have home charging. They have to be opportunistic charging, or they have to be lucky enough to have workplace charging. So I think that finding an appropriate solution, and it may be as much business as technology, to do the multi-user dwelling, it would be a great thing for our efforts. I think fuel cell is great. I think that also, echoing their words, now we've already kind of got established programs with incentives for getting consumers to drive vehicles. A next area that I'd like to see us focusing on in helping people is getting the fleets with medium and heavy duty vehicles electrified. I think that could be, and that's something that you guys are working on as well. I think that would be a great achievement for the state if we look at a 3-year goal.
Okay, wonderful. Do you guys have any last thoughts that you'd like to share? Do you want to share about the reception after this?
Oh yeah, so we hope you will all join us for a reception at Expert Dojo, downtown Santa Monica, 3rd floor in the Santa Monica place.
It's in the old
Yeah.
Sears building for those of you who are locals.
There will be drinks and food, and we hope to see you all there. And thank you so much for sticking it out and staying on this panel with us.
Thank you.
Great, thank you everyone.
Well, that is the end, folks. Want to thank you all for coming out to Santa Monica All Car Expo. Thank you.